video part gets cut off, which is annoying. And a 3. And a 2. Get rid of my glasses. And a uno. Buenos dias, amigos. Yeah, here we go. Another cultural action pack. Oh, yes, good morning. I got the music to pipe down there a little bit. Hey, good morning, and welcome to the Cosmic Cafe Show, where the paranormal, is normal. My name is Eric Brown, and I will be your host and server. And this is episode number, very special and lucky, episode number 88. 88. Lucky 88. Yes, indeed. In fact, that was, I don't want to get too personal. That was the year I graduated. I won't mention which century, though. But anyways, this is March 5th, Saturday. Yes, Saturday morning. We are finally at the cafe in the morning. And I might have an afternoon show too. Still working out whether Bob Evans wants me to broadcast his hypnotic regression later this afternoon, probably around 3 o'clock or so, 3-4 o'clock. If that's going to happen, we'll be tweeting it out. So you make sure you follow us on Twitter at Cosmic Cafe Show if you're not already following us. But hey, we're rolling here, and that picture of Vance Major on the in the captain's chair on the set of Star Trek, well, that's the gentleman that is waiting here with us, and there he is, even better. Hey, Vance, how you doing, buddy? Yes, thanks for stopping by the cafe, popping in, and everything. Well, thanks for making time, and especially I know you have a very hectic schedule, very, very busy man, and so the only time we could get together at the cafe was this morning, but hopefully we'll have more get-togethers in the future. But I'm so grateful to our mutual friend Russ Emanuel, the director of Occupants, the movie, and also the comic book project, for bringing us together and helping make this work. Speaking of Russ, he his parallel self is actually in our chat room. So if anybody wants to get on and talk to you about Project Melbourne, the Star Trek project that you're developing right now, or any of your other projects, or they just want to say hi to Russ, looks like we got some activity already in the chat room, so that's great. And he's over there kind of, well, he's being parallel Russ, so we'll just leave it at that. He's keeping it in something. So I'll be monitoring for any good questions that might pop up from anybody viewing this live broadcast. Again, we are live. If you're watching right now on YouTube or on cosmiccafeshow.com/live, you are seeing us live. It's a little bit after 10 o'clock a.m. Pacific, and that would make it. What time is it over there in your neck of the woods, anyways? 12:06. Yes, yes. Thanks for boy cutting out the well, taking a lunch break, right? So we'll see how much time you have. Hopefully we can get a good half hour out of you, or whatever, before you have to mosey along. But anything you want to mention to anybody before we get over to some of the slides you brought, and we got that video coming up too. There you go. Now, for people that don't know the promenade, why don't you explain what that is, just for our other viewers? Awesome. That's awesome. Well, if they didn't get to watch this live, then they'll definitely get to see the replay, and you're certainly welcome to post the replay link for the YouTube in the promenade and anywhere else you want. Because we're That's awesome. That's awesome. Well, let's get to your slides, right? We can start talking about those, or would you prefer to go to the video first? Well, let's you know what? Let's whet everybody's appetite about Melbourne. We'll show the video and then maybe show it again at the end for people that tune in late. I like the music too. Mm. Well, I love the fact that you went that route. I think it gives, I mean, just looking at the Melbourne, my first impression was that the Melbourne, it looks like it's been in a few fights. It looks like it's been beaten up some, but it's still standing strong. And it that edgy rock and roll really kind of gives a whole new edgy feel to the overall project, and people, I think people should be looking forward to it. I know I certainly am, just seeing what I saw there. It's just like, oh, was this gonna, it's like, I'm sure you'll be coming out with additional trailers to tease people and whet people's appetites, and I think it's a brilliant move on your part. Hey, may I ask, how did you source the music? Was it done locally with a local band, or did you outsource it? Or how'd that work?
Well,
What?
the perfect pursuit are the people who've done the music for that, and anyone who is on Facebook can look up the Perfect Pursuit. Great band. I actually saw them in Lawrence about maybe a year ago, um, and I saw them with a group of friends that I went to Lawrence, and we just saw some local bands from there, and they were one of the ones there, and they were really awesome live, and they were so cool. I sent them a friend request, and they were taking pictures outside, the band place that night. But I got a headache because they were just so loud and so into it. But I love their passion, and that was one thing. Like if I see someone passionate about something, like I really want to share that because I get enthusiastic about people's passion. But I shot them a friend request and a message, and I do a lot of networking online. So I shot them a message and was like, "Hey, would you mind if I advertise for your page?" And they were like, "Sure." And so I was like, "Hey, if you throw up my sign, which is again this is something that the promenade and I do." I was like, throw up my sign and I'll go ahead and use that as an advertisement. They were like, okay. So they instantly, like 2 days later, sent that back to me. They're like, hey, here you go. And like all of them had done it. And I was like, oh wow. And so they did that, and they also sent me music to their CD. And to which I was like, wow, who does that? That's awesome. So, they did that, and I inquired one of their songs that was live that wasn't out yet. And they sent me that song too. And I was just like, this band is really, really cool. And the more I listened to their whole CD, one of their songs, which is called For Too Long, it honestly became one of my favorite songs, which the music is the song that you heard in this trailer, which is that song For Too Long. The music is that. And so I asked them when we started thinking of music for Melbourne. I went to them and was like, "Hey, I really love the song For Too Long. Would you mind if we use music for that? Could I get a copy of that for the CD?" And instantly they were like, sure, no problem. And they had no problem with me using that. And we've been putting out cards with our crew and our cast, and we actually have a card coming out with Perfect Pursuit, advertising for their page and then advertising for their song. Just showing again, hey, this isn't just the typical Star Trek fan film. This is something different. Because again, I believe in giving back to the people who helped us, and again, geeks helping geeks. That's what I've always believed. And again, these people have been just
Hmm.
really great. And their music is really, really good stuff. So again, I believe, just like you said, it's something that it's just the rock and roll theme. The theme just really fits our show. It is a different type of show. It is a different type of Star Trek. Um, it's just something different, and that was something that we did from the very beginning. So
Sorry to be a little bit distracted here. I'm getting word in the chat room that the audio for you is a little bit low, and I'm trying to figure out a way to turn it up so um, without getting an echo or a feedback. I I think I'm echoing myself, but they're saying it sounds like you're on a television in another room. So I don't know if you can up your volume a little bit there on your end. I mean, I can hear you fine, so I don't know why it's not coming through on the video so as well. But Russ says it is better though, so that's a good sign. Vance,
yeah,
it would help if
oh
you talked.
yeah. I was sitting. I'm so sorry, man. I was sitting there. My mind just went blank. I was like, oh, okay. I'm so sorry, man.
Sorry, it's yeah, just trying to I'm letting people know why I look so distracted and I throw my uh my glasses on and everything. I'm trying to figure out a way to get your volume up without I don't see a way to change the volume for you without I'm just worried that there's going to be an echo. Let me try.
Do you want me to try to just speak a little bit louder, brother?
Let's see. I turned up my volume on the computer and I have my microphone close to it, so maybe it's for some reason it's taking your audio through my microphone. So we'll hope that this is okay. Hopefully Russ will give us better feedback. If you go ahead and just I guess we'll just carry on. I can hear my voice is echoing a little bit, so that might be coming into the show.
Okay.
Russ is clowning around now, talking about my glasses. Yes, I'm getting older.
Well, if he's joking around, that might be a good sign. So that's
Well, hopefully he can hear you, and let's talk about the first slide so we have something to talk about, and he can sample
okay.
the audio.
Okay.
So we got this first slide here.
Yep. That was yeah, that was shot. That was actually for the Starship Ajax and Starship Valiant crossover called Star Trek Veritas. That was shot last March, and it was shot at Starbase Studios. And that was that whole crew right there is the Starship Valiant crew, and it's got Commodore Boone there with us as well. And I tell you, that was a very cold day to film. We had space heaters on set, and that was the day where it was like 39 hours that I was up, and drove. I was up from 11 o'clock Friday morning till I think 10 o'clock Saturday night. So I was very exhausted after that day. That was my very first time filming on Star Trek, and it was very, very, very exhausting. But that, I tell you, that was one of the most rewarding experiences I ever had. Um, and I tell you, anybody that wants to shoot their own fan films, anytime walking on set, it's worth it.
Oh, we got a question from the chat room.
Sure.
All right, this is great. Exciting, exciting. The question is, are the uniforms hand sewn?
No, we actually from Starship Valiant goes through a lady named Chrissy. I forget her last name at the moment. Oh, it slips my mind. But no, we actually we have um, a seamstress who actually does all of them, and we pay for them out of pocket. Each fan film does. Melbourne, Ajax, Valiant, Challenger, Grissom. Each fan film, and each one has their own seamstress or person that does them, and each depending on how much they charge for it. Usually, it depends on material, and some depending on material from like what season you want to get them from. Because I know from first season to third season, there were different materials. So depending on what materials and the labor and whatnot, they can range anywhere from like $80 to like $300.
Hmm.
So usually, now I know for like Melbourne, I'm going through Chrissy to get the uniform tops, which to me I think they're really 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 good, and I don't think anywhere can really be matched. But then you can go to Walmart and get the uniform bottoms for like $15,
Oh.
and then the boots online for like $30. At a decent price. Sometimes you can find them for like 60, but I'm like I'm not. I don't really think anybody's really going to pay that close attention to the boots. Now, some people will, and to those people, I don't really care about that. I'm not going to nitpick that close. But
Right.
I did have someone say, "Hey, for we can buy these tops for $300, and we should really go for that." And to me, I'm sitting there going, "I'm paying for my film out of my own pocket."
That was
You
my next question. Actually, is do you ask the actors, or do the actors provide their own uniforms? Since they're all volunteer, as I understand it, or do you pay for it? So you kind of already answered my question ahead of time.
Well, for me, I tell my actors, and for each fan film, it's different.
Hmm.
Some require that you pay for your own uniform, which is kind of the smart thing to do because it kind of gets people, like some people, and you will run into this if you're making a fan film. Some people, everyone's all excited. Yeah, I want to be part of the film, and then when it comes time to actually um, hey guys, we're ready to lock this in. Oh, I can't, I'm busy. Or, oh, something came up. Everybody's all excited till it's actually time to do something, and then they back out. So when you actually have to pay for your uniform out of pocket, it kind of makes you more dedicated to do something. But for me, I just require, pay for your pants because everybody can kind of afford $15 at Walmart, and then pay for your boots because no offense, I don't want to share stinky feet with other people, and plus they're your boots, you can do with them what you want.
So they
But
could also supply their own underwear and stuff like that too.
well, underwear is optional, so I don't know. I mean, you can freeball
Never
all
mind,
you
never
want.
mind. We'll just stop there. We'll keep it family friendly.
Okay, all right. But the uniform tops, I pay. I'll pay for those myself because it's like I can reuse those for something else, and I don't think that would be fair for me to be like, hey, I'm paying for these. You pay for these, but I'm going to use these for something else. Because the way I see it is, when I'm done with these uniforms, I'm going to donate them to the studio, and they'd be like, hey, use these for extras for something else.
Yeah.
So because the studio, Starbase Studios is also, they can always use extra props or extra uniforms or something, so, and that was part of my budget for Melbourne is also to buy extra uniforms for everybody because, we really do at Starbase Studios have a sense of, you know, every film kind of helps out each other, and it's not uncommon for, you know, this makeup artist to kind of help this show for here. Hey, who did you use for this? Okay, well, you mind if he helps us out? On this date, is because there's not really any double filming on any given weekend because you really can only film one at a time.
So
So
you guys reserve it?
pretty much, yeah,
Yeah.
and there really is kind of using double people. Hey, Max did the makeup on this. I'm gonna use Max for this on this makeup. You know,
Shout out to Max.
yeah, exactly. Good makeup guy.
Hey, before we get too far off of uniforms, I have one question from someone in the chat room. They asked, "Is Garrick one of your tailors?"
No, I can't answer that because he might be a spy or something, or it's better not to talk about Garrick. Ask that blue dude in ask that blue dude in that one episode that planted the bomb. No.
Somebody
Don't
wants to
talk
take
about.
us, since we're off track a little bit here. Somebody else also asked a question. How many Trek figures does Vance own?
Dude, hold up.
It's like, look behind you, right?
This is just a small sample.
Oh, your collection's almost as big as mine.
Yeah, it's and that's just
Just kidding.
that's just what I have opened up. That's not including what I have, boarded. Because I have a very large boxed collection. So that's yeah. I take my collection very seriously.
Obviously. Hey, why don't you tell us about the studio? Let's say somebody's watching this for the first time. They've been a Star Trek fan, or maybe they're a writer or something, kind of like what you've done, and they want to do their own project. Tell them about the studio, how they support indie projects, and what it's all about, if you don't mind, just for a minute or so.
Sure. Well, the thing about the studio is
They have a
basically.
website, by the way.
Yeah. Well, they do. It's starbasestudios.net,
Okay,
and
starbasestudios.net. Okay, great.
yeah, and but it basically the way I would reach them is go to their Facebook page, because that's where that's where I've always reached them. I never go to the website, so I mean, and again, I do most of my communications through Facebook. So again, that's where I always recommend it. So it's tried and true.
So I take it
Um,
there. Just search Starbase Studios on Facebook, and you'll easily find them.
exactly, yeah.
Perfect.
And they're very they get back to you pretty within a couple hours because we all have day jobs, but they get back to you, and they're it's Richard Wells and Scott Johnson, and they are both the friendliest people you'll meet. Very knowledgeable in Star Trek, very friendly. And I've sent plenty of friends up there that have traveled through the area. They're like, "Hey, we're traveling to Oklahoma City. Can we see the studio?" And I'm like, "Sure, let me send you to Richard or Scott." And they have gone and visited the set, taken pictures in the captain's chair, just because, they were, passing by. That's how friendly these people are. Um, of course, they'll ask for, hey, donation because they got to turn on all the lights and everything, and that costs money. And it costs a lot of money to turn all those lights on.
Oh yeah.
So and so every little bit helps.
They supply the cameras there. They have like studio cameras and stuff.
No,
Okay.
unfortunately, they do have the lights, for like turning, for making it look the TOS type era, color, proper color.
Uh huh.
Um, but no, for like if you want to film your own type stuff, you do have to provide your own cameras and whatnot. So that is something that you have to provide, just like your uniforms and whatnot. And we do have props like phasers, a couple of phasers, maybe a communicator. We do have some of those. And when that's something we are still building in our inventory. That was one reason why, I put that into the Melbourne budget to, buy extra props, to buy extra uniforms, because I do want to kind of donate some of that stuff to the studio. Because if we can build that for the studio, then that's something more that they have that they can just have on hand, so that it's easier for future people to film, so they don't have to worry about that. But if someone's interested in filming, really the thing to do would be to search Starbase Studios on Facebook and message them. And if you're visiting the area, like I said, just message them and talk to them. And go visit the set. We have the bridge, a full 360-degree bridge. That as a younger kid, I was more of a Next Generation fan. I really didn't get into the Captain Kirk era stuff. I thought, oh, this is kind of cheesy. Who wants this? This is, I don't want that. It's bright red and bright colored. Who wants that? I like warp and data. But when I was invited up to Starbase Studios to come take a look, walking onto that bridge for the first time, I got goosebumps. Because I mean, it was so authentic. But we have a 360-degree bridge. That is just really cool.
I got
We
a
have
question from someone in the chat room. Their screen name is Mister, I think, Ataz. I think I'm pronouncing it correctly. They're wondering, do you have collaboration with Big League Films and I guess other actors like James Colley, Vic Mc. I'm sorry to try to read this without my glasses. Should I just put my glasses on? Hey, do you have the chat room open in there? Listen, Mignaga, John Broughton. Can you tell I'm like a total Star Trek geek? I know all these names like the back of my hand. See the back of my hand? I know it. Anyways, I
um,
think you probably know the gist of his question.
yeah. I do know. I have talked with James a couple of times. And when I first came into the fan film, when I was first invited to Starship Valiant, I had asked James Colley a couple of questions. And Scott Johnson is really close with James Colley. In fact, he works with James on Phase Two. He flies up there every year, helps them out with the lighting and whatnot. They're really good friends. I don't know Vic. Never talked with him. I've talked with John a couple, or I am friends with. I am Facebook friends with John. Never. I don't think I've talked with them. I may have. I'm not really sure. I talk with so many people, so on a day-to-day basis. So it slips my mind if I have. But I have seen his stuff. But I've never worked with any of those people personally. I tend to get tunnel vision a lot, so unless something directly involves me, I tune it out a lot. So, because
I'm
again,
sorry, what were you saying? I was tuning you out. No, just kidding.
right? Like what? No, I completely.
Actually,
Um,
I met Ryan Husk. I met him through I guess a mutual friend on Facebook, Paul Hickman. Paul's here in the Bay Area. He and I are good guys. That's how I met Russ also, through Paul Hickman. And do you know Ryan Husk? I know he's been involved in some projects and maybe out in your neck of the woods even.
oh yeah, Ryan, good guy. I've known him for a while. I mean, not like we don't talk all the time or whatnot,
Not like you're going for beers on Friday, right?
right. Yeah, there's none of them. And Michael Sylvester is a friend of his. And I'm better friends with Michael Sylvester, and he's actually part of my production on Melbourne. We work really closely, Michael and I do. But I asked Ryan, his opinion on Melbourne on the trailer and whatnot. So I got a little bit of critique from him, Because again, when you see someone that has worked in the industry and has done fan films and whatnot, someone who takes a different approach to something, you kind of want to learn the ropes from those people instead of coming in saying I'm going to change this industry or I'm going to do something that you kind of want to ask people's opinion instead of just coming in being arrogant, because it's like a lot of these fan films these days, they come in and they think, well, I've got a camera, I've got a show, so I'm better than everybody else. And it's like, I don't want to have that type of opinion. So I went to Ryan and I was like, hey, I've got this trailer that's made. Can I get your opinion? Um, some of it was good. Some of it was, kind of not so good to hear, but at least it was feedback, and it's like, I'm
That's
a
critical.
professional. Yeah, exactly. And if you can't take the criticism, then you really shouldn't be in this type of industry because it's not
Yeah.
all going to be, oh man, that was the greatest thing ever. It's not all going to be that. And if you can't take criticisms, and that's a lot of people's problems is they can't take criticisms.
Well, and
They act like everybody online is a troll, and it's like that's just not the case. But no, Ryan Husk, good guy.
Ryan's just for the benefit of the audience that aren't familiar with some of the fan film, and I'm learning it as well. But since I did meet Ryan, Ryan has done two fan film projects: Star Trek Horizon and Star Trek Renegades, and
Yeah.
so he certainly would be a good person to go to and get some feedback from. So, hey, speaking of feedback, let's jump over to our slides and take a look at the next slide and talk about that one. That's your kind of cover photo, right?
Yeah, that was taken at the Promenadicon, which was the convention that was taken at Starbase Studios in October. What we had was it wasn't really a convention; it was more like a glorified meet and greet.
Mm-hmm.
Every year since the Promenade had been around, they had kept talking about, man, we should all get together, and meet. And then, every year we would always kind of pick a location, but we would never really follow through. And, one year they were like, we should all meet at Vance's house. And I was like, no. My wife was like, oh, hell no. And so, when I shot last year in March at the studio, I thought, this would be a great place for all of my friends in the promenade to come. And plus, it would be free advertisement for the studio. And again, just like with The Perfect Pursuit and my film, I thought the studio and the promenade, this would be great for everybody involved. It's just, again, geeks helping geeks. It's great collaboration. And I love that type of stuff. So I thought, why don't we have, you know, a, a convention here, even though it's just a small studio, why don't we have something like that here? So I asked around, I asked Richard and Scott, I was like, what do you guys think? They're like, let's do it. Awesome. Why not? And so, I started talking with all the different fan films since I work, pretty closely with most of them. And I was like, what do you guys, would you guys want to have booths here? What would you guys think? They're like, sure, why not? And so we had people, come all the way from Florida, Iowa, I think California. It's like we had people come all around, just to come see the bridge, the sick bay, at the partial transporter at the time. It's now completed, but they wanted to come see the studio. All from all around. Even people that weren't in the promenade started coming to this thing because it started catching on. And so since we had people, from 5 different fan films come, to this thing as well, I was like, since everybody who's in uniform, let's go on the bridge. And since we have Michael Sylvester here, who is a professional photographer, why don't we have him take pictures of us on the bridge, and we can release these pictures for our independent films. And
That's
then
cool.
let's have a group shot, because in my head I was thinking we really need a group shot with all of us showing unity, because a lot of these studios, they talk about unity in fan films, but they never really preach it.
Mm.
And we really need a shot like this showing everybody, hey, not only do we talk about it, we live this. This is what we do. Come play in our sandbox. We want you here. even if you have a phone camera and a couple of people in crappy, you know, sewn shirts, come film at our studio. We want you here. We'll help you get better. We've got the people. We want you here. And that's everything that we've worked hard is come work with us, and that's what this picture represents is five fan films coming together. You've got people from Starship Grissom, Starship Valiant, Dreadnought Dominion, um, Starship Ajax, and Melbourne, all in this picture,
Wow.
unified and saying, "Come film with us."
That's
So,
awesome. Well, let's take a look at the next slide. This looks like must be your official emblem for the Melbourne.
yes, yes, it is. That was a design. One of the very first pictures we had, and that was when everything was still kind of conceptual. That was done from one of our actors, Ron, and I forget Ron Seifel. I can't pronounce his last name.
Ron Howard.
I wish. If it was, then I would be doing more than just fan films. Um, but he's going to be playing Commander Tate on Melbourne, and he's actually making a model of the Melbourne. Really good guy, but he made this for us. And when he actually drew a couple drawings, and when I saw that, I was like, I love this. So we sent that to our CGI guy who actually did the CGI in the trailer for Melbourne, and he designed, did that for us. So it was just, I love that so much that I was like, yeah, let's use this. So
Quick
yeah,
question about the ship itself,
sure.
because you mentioned CGI and modeling and all that. Are you guys going to use like 3D printing to actually have a model of the ship made, so then you can tape a real model rather than trying to just computer generate everything?
Actually, well, Ron's actually made a model of the ship
Mm-hmm.
by taking pieces of other models and like carving it and handcrafting it, and customizing it.
Oh, okay. So it's still old school, which is nice.
Yeah. But no, everything's going to be completely CGI for the show. What you've seen, and the thing with Forrest Nelson, the guy who's doing our CGI, part of Stargazer Entertainment, is he started off in October doing, and he wasn't a Star Trek fan by any means when he first started doing this, but he's slowly getting more and more of one.
Mm-hmm.
He's improving so much with his craft, um, and getting so much more better with Star Trek stuff, and he's just getting. It's going to be all CGI with the Melbourne, so nothing's going to be model in that regard. So it'll be all CGI.
Oh, okay. Here's another new slide that looks like an action shot.
Well, it's one of those pictures. It's a card that I'll be releasing on Facebook, but I thought I'd give it here. It's
Oh, is
again
this a
with
debut?
Yeah, yes, it is.
Really?
Yeah,
Hey, all right. Another first at the Cosmic Cafe. Thank you, man. Well,
pleasure.
Vance. Thank you, Vance.
um,
Appreciate
it's
that. That's
it's
quite a
got
little historic moment for me. Appreciate that.
right on, Matt.
Yeah.
Um, it's got my character Menard. It's got the Doctor from Valiant, and then it's got two characters from Dreadnought Dominion in the background, and then it's got in the captain's chair. It's got Commander Tate from Melbourne, and then standing next to the communications officer, it's got a background character from Starship Valiant. So it's got characters from two different shows. Just it was one of those publicity stills from that Michael Sylvester took when we were at the Promenadicon. That I was
Okay.
just like, hey, let's do kind of a crossover type deal. So a picture from crossing over like three different shows that I just thought would be kind of cool. So nothing really to read into, but just something that I thought would look kind of cool. And then crossing over again, one of those things that I wanted to show fan films uniting. Um, but hey, again, one of those come play in our sandbox type deal, and just kind of a cool looking picture. Plus, I love the fact that the Doctor always kind of razzles me. the guy who plays the Doctor on Valiant. He's the funnest guy to play, kind of play with on set because he's always kind of giving me a hard time, and he's just kind of a fun character. But
We
it's
got a question from the chat room from Mr. Ataz. He
sure.
says, any action scenes for Maynard?
From well, Menard.
Well, he wrote Maynard. At least that's what my fuzzy eyesight can show.
Yeah. Um, no action sequences from that character. It kind that character kind of jiggles too much in certain areas, so we try not to do action sequences. Sadly, he's not Captain Kirk-esque in the physicality, so no, there's no action sequences. So no, there's no Gorn fight sequences. So no action sequences. No.
Wow, that's a beautiful image of the ship.
Yeah,
Absolutely gorgeous.
yeah, that's one of the. Like I said, that's Forrest. He does really good work, and like I said, he's just by the time I think he gets the stuff for actually in the movie, it blows me away. Looking at the stuff from the Promenadicon, like when we first started releasing stuff, going to the trailer, it blows my mind. So again, giving him a year's time to work on the stuff, I can only imagine what I'll look back at this and be like, oh, this is terrible. Even though I look at this and I'm like, oh, it's great, So I'm just that guy. It's this. He just does really good stuff. I don't know. I can't talk that guy up enough. And he's actually, I had never met the guy before Promenadicon, but he actually is one of my best friends on this project. I can't talk the guy up enough. I would trust this guy on any project because when we first started working on the ship, like I said, he didn't have any idea what the starship was or what, how the ships went together or whatnot. So for him to take our ideas and mold this ship, um, it was a frustrating process at first because he didn't understand. But once he got these concepts,
Yeah.
then it was just like it was great to see this guy work and go. And it's just like this guy's got so much talent. I mean, I really can hardly wait to see where he goes because it's like he's just so smart and he's so good at what he does.
Well, let's
So
hope he doesn't get snapped up by some big studio and then you won't be able to use him anymore.
he'll be like Vance who, right?
I doubt he'll ever do that, but he'll be like, dude, I'm just so busy now.
Right, right. No, he's good. Good.
Oh, hey, look at that.
Oh my God.
Somebody's having a birthday today.
Thank
Hey,
you.
happy birthday.
Thank you, brother. Appreciate it.
Glad I could surprise you with that.
Okay.
Well, I guess we'll move on to the next slide. So this is more of his animation, is that correct?
Yes, it was, and that was something. Like I was very like when I was a little kid, like I loved the motion picture, even though like a lot of people were calling it like the slow motion picture or the motionless picture.
Uh huh.
Like I loved the motion picture just because of that warp sequence. I loved how it just kind of looked like it was going into the warp tunnel type thing,
Yeah.
and I really wanted the Melbourne to kind of go into that. And plus the time frame that we're going into is we're moving past Kirk's 5-year mission, and we're kind of going into that, TMP era. And I wanted the trailer to reflect that. And so I thought if we go past, once we're doing all, going past the ship and everything and the beauty shots, if we end that and we're going into warp, if the warp reflects the TMP warp and we have that kind of Doppler effect, I think that would really, kind of impress people because they'd be like, whoa, oh my God, okay, I recognize that. And then they'd be like, okay, are we in the motion picture or are we in TOS? Like, what exactly are we in? Because again, we haven't filmed anything, so they don't know exactly where are we at in the time period? What are we doing? Because a lot of people have looked at the ship and been like, are we in next generation era or are we in Enterprise era? Like, what exactly? Where are we at? And people have even said, they have a lot of theories on where we're at. Some people have even suggested that we're in the mirror universe. And again, I don't answer a lot of questions because I believe in the mystery of the story. Despite what I've given away, character-wise, I haven't given anything away about my story. Um, and
Mr. Ataz has asked a question. He says, when does this take place chronologically? During TOS or after?
Um, Mostly after. It still takes place during, but mostly after. We're kind of getting past TOS. Um, but
And I guess
we
for the novices out there, the people that, they know Star Trek, but, they're just visitors to the cafe, what have you. Can you explain what TOS stands for?
sure. TOS stands for the original series,
Ah,
and
duh.
T,
I'm like thinking time, outer space, or whatever. So, oh, of course, the original series.
and TMP stands for the motion picture. So our show takes place about about three-fourths of the way after, like it takes place after the original series, but not quite before the motion picture, because um, after the original series and before the motion picture, there's about 2.5 years, give or take, about 2.5, 3 years, give or take.
Okay.
Um, so there's a huge unexplored time frame between there, and that's about where our show takes place, and that was done intentionally.
Parallel Russ is asking, do you actually tie into the previous TOS episodes?
Not necessarily, no. There's not really any references. We have 6 episodes that are planned for our TV show, and it's just like the Daredevil Netflix thing. It's meant to be seen as uh, one whole sit down thing. Sadly, because real life kicks in, we can't really shoot all 6 at one time, in one setting. So we have to separate it in 6 episodes. But it's meant to be sat down and watched as one whole movie.
How
Um,
long is each episode?
about 30 minutes.
Oh, okay. Okay, so it'll be about a 3 hour
Yeah,
series.
yeah, yeah,
Wow.
give or take, yeah, about 3 hours. Maybe there may be like a 45-minute one, depending on how long we run. But yeah, it's meant to be sat down and watched in one setting. Um, and that was one reason. We really sat down and developed all the characters. So what happens in episode one really does affect like episode four or episode six. So by the time you get to the end, you understand all the little things, characters, character twists, little mannerisms, something that you're like, well, why did he do that in episode two? Like, it really does make sense for, episode six. Like, everything really does pay off. And we do a lot of things that, some things that you're like, well, that was open ended. We really plant a lot of things that some other filmmaker can come in and say, they left that open ended intentionally. I can come and make a film about that. Because I think any good filmmaker leaves room for other people to come on and take over for a project. But we left, we're going to shoot all 6 episodes, and then we're done with the project. We're not going to leave it, oh, we're going to keep going, guys, because that's a lot of filmmakers. They keep going back to the well long after it's dry, and that's something that we didn't want to do. We wanted to develop these characters, have a story, and then be done with it.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but between the TOS and TP era, that was an unexplored time frame that we really wanted to take place. So that was something we did intentionally. Like everything we've done, from ship design to character arcs to the characters that we're bringing in, everything we've done has been carefully planned. There was times where
Speaking
I
of
would
which,
sure.
getting two questions in the chat room regarding the music, the score for the thing. And so Mr. Ataz asks, will each episode have an original score or reuse existing ones from TOS? And then Parallel Russ asks, I like how you use Jerry Goldsmith and James Horner's scores in Valiant. Will you do the same in Melbourne?
No, to answer the question I think both of these questions can be answered. For Melbourne, every music will be originally done by The Perfect Pursuit. Um,
The music we heard in the trailer.
yeah,
Yeah.
that will be the Doug and Quincy, who are two members of The Perfect Pursuit. I've talked to Quincy has talked to. I've talked to Quincy more about doing music for Melbourne, and he's really into doing that stuff. And I've sampled some of his music for what would be like background music for scoring and whatnot. So I really am thinking about going that route. So I don't really want to, like I said, I really don't like using pre-existing music, especially if you don't have to. It's, because a lot of the times it doesn't fit the mood, and people pick the wrong stuff just because it's existing, or oh, this is very Star Trek. I want something that fits the mood of what I'm in, something that fits that moment.
Yeah,
I'm
it's
not,
critical.
yeah, I don't want to make Star Trek. I want to make a movie. I want to make something that feels real. It just happens to exist in that universe. And I think a lot of times people miss that point. Make a great movie that just happens to exist in that universe. And yeah, so that's where I'm going for on that. For Valiant, I really couldn't tell you where Michael L. King is going for on that. I would assume that they're probably going to reuse Jerry Goldsmith's music for a lot of the score, but I really couldn't tell you on that. He doesn't give me a prize for that information, um, but I would assume because that's kind of the route they're going for very kind of classic but modern updated type feel for TOS type vibes. But I really couldn't tell you.
I think Parallel Russ wants to volunteer because he's asking, do you serve Romulan ale while taping?
No, I try not to drink anything because especially when you're on set all day. If you drink anything, like then you get like coffee breath. When you're on set all day, you're like, hi. No, you just know.
For anybody that tuned in really late and they didn't get to see during the open the trailer, let me pop that open again real quick so they can hear the music, see the effects we've been talking about, and we'll kind of use that to also wrap up the show as well. How's that sound? Because I know it's your birthday, and I'm sure your wife is eager to drag you out and go do something with you.
Sounds like a plan and a half, man.
All right, let's watch that trailer. Very cool, very cool. Hey, we got Paul Hickman in the chat room. He's in there right now as well. So we got a bunch of people in there. Yeah,
Right
so
on.
welcome, Paul. For thanks for joining us. Coming to the end of the hour, so we'll probably wrap things up here in the next couple of minutes. So if anybody has any last minute questions, somebody wants to be parallel Paul. Yeah, Paul. All you have to do is customize your name. Just click the customize button right below the chat dot box there. So they're yelling at him, customize your name, customize your name. So anyways, well, it looks like we're having fun in the chat room. We're having fun here. We'll have to definitely have you back as the project develops. We'd love to have you stop by the cafe, give some updates. Maybe you can give a shout out for volunteers or other people to help in any which way they can. Whether you need whatever you need, please feel free to come by the cafe. We can put the word out. You're also, like I said, you have the permission to share the video here, put it on your website or whatever you want to do to help generate so people kind of understand the project. Hopefully, we've talked about what people need to know about the project, and anything that we're kind of missing that maybe has popped in your mind that you want to cover before we call it a morning or an afternoon, and go you go on with your birthday and I go on with the rest of my day.
Not really. Just anybody that is interested in making films, or fan films. I would recommend, looking up Starbase Studios on Facebook, and like I said, just messaging. The things that we're doing. It's you don't have to be super professional. You don't have to be, you don't have to have years of experience. I work, a day job. Everybody at the studio works a day job. We do these things in our free time. You're gonna get, critiqued. You're gonna get criticisms. You can't worry about that. If I worried about everybody that was like, oh, that guy is no good, that guy can't do this, I would never get up out of bed. So if you have a passion for anything, or if you have an interest, or if you have a curiosity, message me or message the studio. I will always answer questions. I get approached with projects 2 or 3 times a week. Ask, hey, what about this? What about this? Hey, question about this. Ask. Because you never know where that's going to lead. 2 weeks ago I did an interview on Jeff Track. Here I am, doing an interview here because I'm, chatted with one person, Russell. All I did was click a message to him, and so it's like you never know who you're going to meet just
Speaking
because.
of Russ,
Yes.
he asked a question. His question is can someone cameo in one of your projects?
Oh yeah. I mean that's the thing. We have, all you got to do is message. I am all for, reaching. If someone reaches out, hey, can I do this? Sure, show up the set.
Where's the
You know,
set location for the people that don't know where Starbase Studios are located?
Oklahoma City. If you message me ahead of time, I am more than happy. Again, let me know your shirt size. Make sure I've got a uniform, and I can usually fit you in somewhere. Um,
Wow.
I am really flexible on background extras because the thing about fan films is they usually are understaffed with background extras.
Yeah.
And again, if you're willing to make the drive, I am willing to put you in a film somewhere. I'm willing to put you to work somewhere. As long as you're willing to come help out and understand that this isn't just playtime. A lot of people in fan films think, oh, we're gonna go play Star Trek. And this isn't playing. This is work. When I get done with my 60-hour work week at my job, I then go on the weekend and I'm another 20 to 25 hours of work. So
Yeah.
this is work. So if you're willing to do it, I'm more than willing to have you come. So please come help me. I'd love to have anybody. So yeah.
Mr. Ataz asks, and you can take the option to answer this question. He wants to know, since it's your birthday today, what age did you turn today?
Well, it's the 6th anniversary of my 30th birthday. So.
Well, some people have, they're raised on Common Core math. They might not be able to noodle that one out, but we'll let them worry about that.
Okay.
Wow. So let's see here. They're just kind of chatting amongst themselves now. It doesn't look like there's anything too relevant. There was a comment about your Superman hat and your Superman mug. But I understand the effort that you put through with the whole volunteer, because that's how the Cosmic Cafe show originally got our start back in April of 2014 through the Palo Alto Community Mid Peninsula Media Center there in Palo Alto, California, and it's an all volunteer group. It's a studio, and you want to do a show or whatever, you got to take classes, you got to learn how to do the different things, whatever it is, and then you start getting people to help you with your project, and you help people with their projects, and it's a lot of great synergy and volunteerism, and so it's a wonderful thing. And even if people can't make it out to Oklahoma, a lot of these public access stations throughout the country, there's thousands of them. They are always looking for volunteers to do different projects, and you may have an idea that you know, for a show you want to do, like Cosmic Cafe show, you know, or whatever it is you want to do, and you could talk to your local public access station and get yourself going, headed in the right direction, and then, you know, hopefully someday if you're out visiting Oklahoma, you can pop by and help Vance with his project, and so on and so forth. So it's a great community of volunteerism. It's starkly different than what the people typically think of Hollywood as being. You know, it's such a great community of helping everybody else. And so it's been my real pleasure, Vance, having you here on the cafe. Again, happy birthday, and I'm going to let you go and go celebrate, and so your wife doesn't say, hey, I don't want you to go back on that guy's show. He keeps you on too long.
Well, thanks, man. I appreciate you having me, brother. I really do. It's been a lot of fun, man. And yeah, I'll be passing this program around. I'll be watching more shows from you. And anytime you want me back on, I'm more than willing to come. And anytime you're in Oklahoma City, just let me know, and I'll make the trip down to the studio. And you're welcome out anytime, man.
Well, I might be out sooner than expected, so we'll keep that under wraps for right now. But with that, I'm just checked the last. Russ is saying he's taking a trip to Oklahoma, so who knows? Maybe we'll all show up on the door and help out one day. Hey, with that, I'm going to give you a salute, happy birthday, and I'm going to close up the show, and we'll call it a day.
All right, man. Thanks for having me on, man.
You bet. All right. Well, with that, thank you very much for tuning in to this very, very special Saturday morning edition of the Cosmic Cafe Show. Anything that we do here, we always put the CCS Live hashtag on it. And, of course, you can find us on our favorite place to hang out, which is Twitter. That's the big blue bird there. And, of course, if you're wanting to support independent programs like Cosmic Cafe Show, or even what Vance is doing with Melbourne, we're always open to donations. And on my website, you can always donate by hitting the little donate button, and it takes you to PayPal. Keeps it real easy, keeps it real safe and secure. Here's our social media sites: Twitter, Facebook, Google+, Instagram, and of course right here on YouTube. And speaking of YouTube, if you're watching this on YouTube, right below my finger right here is that red subscribe button. If you're not one of the hundreds of people that are already subscribed and following the Cosmic Cafe Show, please help out. We want to make that thousands, not just hundreds. So please, while you're there, click the subscribe button. We super appreciate that. With all that, again, happy birthday, Vance Major. Thanks so much for showing up. Good luck with the project. We'll definitely have you back again as soon as possible. You all have a great Saturday. I might see you back here later today with a special live broadcast, but no promises, so I'm not going to promote it any more than that. See you Monday.